make this podcast today. I've recently been guesting on other people's podcasts, and it's different being in the not being in the driver's seat. I like the driver's seat, but life is shifting rapidly here, just like it is in our country. And one of the survivor personality things that I have discovered is the ability to pivot. And so pivot we do. How can you tell when a woman has already made a shift in her life? Look at her hair, cause baby, it's all gone. A new hairstyle means something's different. And it is just the outer manifestation of an inward clearing that has happened. So in my case, my personal experience is that we're shifting to deconstructing Kim and all the things that I was taught and raised to be, think, feel, and say, and to put all of my F's in one bag and not give them anymore. So I'm a little less structured and a little more mouthy, if that's even possible. And sometimes I cry, and sometimes I rant, and sometimes I have little nuggets that slip out that people want to remember for the rest of their life. If any of that is for you, then I love that. I love that for you, and I love that for us. In my personal journey, and in my other life, I have worked with highly functioning addicts and alcoholics for on and off for 35 plus years. And I stopped doing it a while ago because it's a lot of effort and little return. And I'm not talking about financially, I'm just talking about most people are not in enough pain to do the essential requirements of the main part of the AA program, which is the first 103 pages of the book, which is this much of this big book. And it happened upon my life a couple of months ago that somebody I'd known for a few years asked me to take them through the steps. And so we did, and they got it. And it has been so invigorating to me and so fascinating that there is a piece of our time together that I want to share with you so that you can get a feel for if you've ever failed 12-step, if you've ever been resistant to go to meetings, because meetings are the fellowship. It's like going to church and never reading the Bible. If you go to meetings and you don't read the first 103 pages, you don't know what you're getting into. But most of the people there never read the book, so they don't know either. So they're all running around mouthing slogans and ideas and other people's best ideas and wondering why they keep having to do steps 1, 2, and 3 over again. Well, you don't have to do them over again if you do them once by book, 1 through 9, then we live in 10, 11, and 12. And this little segment bridges that for you. But in the meantime, I am not just asking myself, what kind of programming and conditioning caused me to dummy down, particularly around powerful men, but not just who said that I should, but where did that idea come from for them? And it's not by accident. I believe in divine timing, and the divine timing of the way that One Voice Evolving podcast has matured. And I have become bolder and braver at the same time because education is power and knowledge. Education is knowledge and knowledge is power. But this One Voice Evolving piece, I am so interested in the thread of history. Now, I'm not interested because I've ever given a shit about history. I'm interested because the universe keeps drawing to me historians. We did one, in last season about the Underground Railroad in New England and the hidden history of New Hampshire, where they whitewashed all the history for the last 100 years until more evidence was uncovered and the society could stand a little truth. Well, then I got introduced just a few weeks ago to someone as a podcast guest about Asian history in our country. And I saw a similar thread of women's resilience that shifted the nation and the men around them to a more compassionate, emotionally intelligent response. I was fascinated. Just yesterday, I got a Holocaust historian invitation to come to a speaking thing they're going to do. And I've been wanting to have a chat with them. So I'm going next weekend. I don't know anything about this, but she not only has specialized her entire career in that, but just did 12 days at all of the Holocaust sites at a time when our country is going down potentially a path of no return and denying the Holocaust even happened. So I don't know what we're going to talk about, but it's going to be raw, real, and relatable. The other thing that happened on one of these podcasts that I was a guest on, and her podcast is called Majoring in Marriage, and it is distinctly a Christian bent. So there's your disclaimer. But when my people asked her people about me being on, I said, I've been married and divorced more than a couple times. I'm pretty sure I'm not what she wants for her audience to hear. The only thing I'd be willing to talk about would be divorce, dysfunctional responses to divorce in the church. And so she thought that would be wonderful. And so we had a conversation, and I'm going to tell you, Janice Vance was warm and welcoming and created a safe container, safe enough that I told stories of my life that even the children, my now adult children, have never heard and don't know. I felt so, when it was over, overexposed because I couldn't edit those parts out. It wasn't my job. And I have yet to promote it. But today, if we aren't able to get the actual video in time and permissions to put it here so you can see it here, we are going to put the link in the description so you can go see. If you want to see behind the curtain of some of the trauma drama, because I'm telling you, you don't get to be a woman of a certain age without some stuff in your life. And I have enough stuff for a few lives. So if you want more than the advancing racial equity in our lifetime, if you want more than how women over 40 need to find their voice and learn to trust their intuition, if you want to see more of what made me who I am, and if you can relate to any of that, by all means, please reach out to me, text me, email me, follow, share it with your friends, get the word out. You just never know when you start a conversation with somebody where it's going to go. And that conversation shifted me enough to cut my hair and to begin deconstructing all the stories I've been told that were based in male patriarchy, white supremacy, capitalistic hustle culture that I tried to fit into for most of my corporate life. And that I am saying, not one more time here. Love you. See you soon. Bye. Here are the steps we took, which are suggested as a program of recovery. Now, that does not mean that these steps are pick and choose. It says program of suggestions. No, they're saying these are the steps we took that if you want what we have, you have to take with rigorous honesty. This is our suggested program of recovery. All 12 of them in order. If you don't want that, earlier in the book it said, we don't have a monopoly on God. You do what works with you. We wish you well, and we hope to see you on the path to freedom. But if you're going to do our recovery, here's what it looks like and here's what it means. Okay? Mm-hmm. 1, We admitted we were powerless over drug of choice, that our lives had become unmanageable. Okay. Now, are you wanting me to unpack that, or are you wanting me, let's just do this for you today? Okay? Because we've covered so much of this, especially the first three. Admitted we were powerless, past tense, and our lives had become unmanageable, also past tense. They won't always be unmanageable. Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves, because we had come to the end of our power. We had tried everything we could to stop, and if we could have fixed it, we would have. Could restore us to sanity, which we had to look at. How is our behavior crazy, insane? How do we keep doing the same things over and over and expecting a different outcome this time, this one time? Made a decision. This is the turning point into action. Made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood them. Okay. So our will and our lives, what we want and what we do. My will is what I want. My life is what I do with it. So we made a decision to turn what I want and what I do over to the care of God, of my understanding. Okay.
What I think and what I do?
What I want and what I do.
Oh, what I want.
And what I do. Because the main problem centers are our mind rather than our body. So what I want and what I do. Made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. Step 4, that's the one you're getting ready to embark on. Now, searching, thorough, fearless. It's going to be the rigorous honesty, telling the truth, no matter how bad it hurts. And I tell people, you survived living it, you can survive remembering it. Because there may be trauma in there. There may be all manner of things. It's okay to remember it, because this is the moral inventory of you. It's not the moral inventory of all the people you resent. It's not explaining their bad behavior. It's not making excuses for how you reacted. It's none of that. It is just looking at the can of goods. What kind of soup is that? Do I like that soup anymore? Has it passed date? Should I be getting out something fresher? Okay. Step 5, admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. Okay, step 5, this is your preview of coming attractions. If you're going to get scared off, this is where it'll happen. So, so now that I get it all written down, I'm going to tell it to God, which we're okay kind of with, maybe, to ourselves. Writing makes it real, but digesting it, facing those truths about ourselves, those are tricky. And we want to stop with ourselves and maybe God and never have to tell another human being, because that breaks shame, breaks silence, and breaks ego. Okay? And so it has to be yourselves, God, and another human being. All right. We have to tell the same story the same way to all three of them. We don't get to say, well, I'll tell myself about this dark secret, and I'll tell God the politically correct version, and I'll broad brush it when I tell another person, well, I was kind of dishonest in that relationship.
That's funny.
So, okay? Nope, it has to be the same way. Whatever your truth is about you, the way you tell it to you is the way you're going to tell it to me or whomever you choose. And the way you're going to give it to God. Because that's what stops the double life. That's what stops the wanting to enjoy a certain reputation in our hearts we don't deserve. We become transparent. And we're going to expose the exact nature of our wrongs, because by the time you get through the 4th step, you're going to see what you're resentful at and why and what it affected you. But you're also going to see the patterns of Joseph, the patterns of your life, the stories you've woven around them. You're going to see some hard truths about yourself, and that exact nature not just what you discover. You don't get to do all the messy middle work and not expose that detail of it. That's why you write it all down and you speak it all out to somebody, because we'll broad brush it to minimize it. We will. We are human, and it's what we do. The exact nature of our wrongs. So we get down to where we were at fault by the time you're finished with that. When we get down to where we're at fault, then after we've done that, then we are entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. We've identified things in ourselves like procrastination or selfish ambition, or using sex as a manipulative tool instead of a path to intimacy, whatever it is. And when we get that, we become entirely ready to have God remove these defects of character. We don't decide we're going to remove them and go find another self-help book to do that. We don't get to direct the timing of it. We don't say, okay, God, you got 35 minutes because I need to get on to step 7. Okay? We are entirely ready. And if we're not entirely ready when we get there, Joseph, then we're going to wait and we're going to pray until we become entirely ready, because there's no point going forward if you're not entirely ready to have God remove them. And if you're not entirely ready, it's because you either don't have a God you can trust after you've written all that stuff out, and we've got to go back and revisit the God concept, or you're just not ready to give up that level of control. Another thing to work on, all right? Once we're entirely ready, once we've made a decision, what I want and what I do, without reservation over to God, I've looked at the truth about me, I'm entirely ready to have God remove it. And some of the stuff that I was dealing with were things that were planted there before I was 7 years old. I had no way to get to the roots of that and pull it out. God was either going to do it or it wasn't going to get done. And I had to learn to be okay with whatever God decided for my life. It's like, wasn't it Paul in the Bible that had the thorn in his side that he prayed a lot of times for God to remove? And it was like, no, my grace is sufficient for you. Well, sometimes you just got to burn your saddle and learn to live with it. Yeah? So we asked him. Now, this one I like a lot. Step 7, humbly asked him to remove our shortcomings. No, we like to demand. We like to insist. We like to beg and plead. We like to find easier, softer ways. We're humbly understanding that God is God and I'm not, asking him to remove these shortcomings. First of all, we have to be ready. Remember in the Bible when Jesus said, when they were asking him to, will you heal it? Heal us? And his first question before he would heal people was, do you want to be well? Because if you don't want to be well, we're wasting our time here. I can pray over you, I can give you tools, I can do anything. But if you don't want to be well, you're not going to stay well. You're going to stay sick, because that feeds something in you. So, what is that?
That's good.
Yeah. So we're going to humbly ask him to remove our shortcomings, and we're going to hope he sees fit to do that. And we're going to go on about our business while that is working itself out. So we don't have to stay there and wait until all our shortcomings are removed to my satisfaction before I move forward into God, what would you have me be? That's going to be at work in my life because I've already surrendered it. Those things are already in place, and I can continue on with action. No excuse to stop there. Okay? Now, step 8, made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. Okay, I just now wrote all the people who harmed me. I am not ready to make amends to any of them for anything. They owe me, damn it. So let's start there. Okay. But by the time I've humbled myself enough and I've looked at my part, if I had a part, sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. Sometimes shit happens, and we took responsibility for something that we should just put back at the feet of the perpetrator or the abuser and walk away and let them deal with it. It's between you and God. It has nothing to do with me. Okay? And you'll know as you go through your inventory what that is. So we just make a list. I don't have to make amends yet. All I have to do is make a list of people. And anytime I'm on a step, I try to stay present with that step, because if I look ahead, it scares me. And if it scares me, I fight, flee, freeze, or fawn. I pretend I'm doing it when I'm not. I freeze up. I can't. I get writer's block. I fight against it with my wordy arguments about why I don't have to do that part. Okay. All right. Because I'm better than that. Made direct amends to such people wherever possible. And this one's a good one. So became, on step 8, and became willing to make amends to them all. Now, you're going to have, when you do an amends list, you're going to have 80% of them you can go to right away and you can think of. But there's going to be some holdouts that still, you still got some righteous anger or justified resentment about, or whatever you're doing. And so what we're doing is we are becoming willing to make amends to them all. So you keep them on the list, you make amends to the ones you're ready, and you let those ones sit, because God is still working out removing your shortcomings and defects of character. So you wait. You continue to practice, you continue to do the rest of the steps while you wait for that. And the opportunity will present, or the door will open, or you'll find yourself in a parking lot face to face with this person once you've become willing to make amends. And when you're ready, the opportunity will present. It might be a letter, it might be a face-to-face. We prefer face-to-face because that is more humbling, not humiliating, but humbling, than a letter. We prefer we prefer a call over a letter. The more direct it is, the better it is for you. Okay? If you can't do anything else, then a letter or text. Text is so easy and so easily misunderstood. Okay. Step 9. Made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. I have some really good news and bad news. The good news is we don't want to hurt anybody in our process. Okay, so if I was unfaithful and my wife doesn't know it, and there's a whole part in the book about that, should we tell her? Not always. We can't really save our skin by creating pain for somebody else. Amends does not require that. So every situation is different and it has to be approached uniquely. But others would injure them or others. You are not an other in this case. This is not a save your skin proposition. This is not a make a direct amends, except that that I might get hurt and I'm going to save myself. No, that's not what this one is. Except when to do so would injure them or others. No collateral damage. First, do no harm, but saving yourself is not part of it. But it's going to be hard to tell that truth about myself to somebody I've wronged who doesn't know or doesn't think it was a big deal. Well, you find out. Step 10. So once you go through steps 1 to 3 is making it to bring you to the point of decision. 4 to 9 are the action steps. This is where you're going to be busy, busy, busy. Then you start to live in 10, 11, and 12, and that's where you spend the rest of your life. So you don't ever have to go back, Joseph, and say, oh, I need to do another 4th step every 2 years. No, you don't. No, you did it once. It was thorough when you did it. As things come up, we take care of them in 10, 11, and 12. Everything in the program is in 10, 11, and 12 on a daily basis. It maintains. So we have to be able to establish, go 1 through 9, and maintain 10, 11, and 12, this new way of living, which is what they just said on the last page. This is how you do it. 10, continue to take personal inventory every day, in fact, and when we're wrong, promptly admitted it. And when we don't do it promptly, we're going to get hit with some bedevilments again until we do. We're going to get some living difficulties until we do. And it's why in the beginning you have a set time of day, so generally several times a day, and it tells you exactly how to do it. We do it in the morning, we do it spot check during the day, and we do a review at night. And if there's anything left undone, we try to take care of it before we lay our little heads down and go to sleep. If not, then we look for the first available, right? And then step 11, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God. What it takes to get started, even a willingness to believe, is not what it takes to sustain long-term recovery, because you have to be always growing into the sunlight of the Spirit. Okay? And prayer and meditation. Prayer is talking, meditation is listening, whatever that is. So be conscious of the fact that this is a dialogue, not a diatribe. This is not me with my Santa Claus wish list with God, or my complaint list about why he's not doing the world the way I want it to be done. Praying only. And this part, for people who like to pray for other people and what's best for them, this is really hard, because that's often a very selfish motive, because I want the world to run the way I want the world to run. And then we can be mad when people don't do it or God doesn't do it. Praying only for knowledge of his will for us and the power to carry that out. We are staying on our own side of the street. Okay. I have only one concern. I'm going to ask only for knowledge of his will for me and the power to carry that out, which means it's really going to stop the noise, all the noise of all the things that want a piece of me. And it brings it right down to what I can control and what I can't.
Oh Lord.
What?
It's okay. No, I'm trying to highlight that, but
Yeah.
you continue.
Okay.
But my mouse is
No. Okay.
having a mind of its own.
Huh. Okay. There you are. Yep. That makes it really
Okay.
simple. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to others, is what the original said. The book at publication they said other alcoholics, and that's where this fellowship thing of only an alcoholic can help another alcoholic. That is not what they said. Those 100 men and women said we carry this message to others and to practice these principles in all our affairs. And that means we don't get on any spiritual or moral hilltop because, well, I am uniquely positioned to help because I had an addiction. Nope. If there's nobody around you who's addicted, then carry this message to the families of, or carry this message to some kid who had an abusive alcoholic parent, or carry this message, because this message is a life message. Anytime you've got issues, life-damaging habits, this solves it. So the spiritual awakening, which we've had a lot of along the way, that brought us here. But we're talking about the one as a result of these steps, because there isn't one that comes from doing all 12 of these. So the one as the result of these steps, then we carry the message to others, and to practice these principles in all our affairs. Not just when people are looking, not just when I'm in a meeting, not just when I've had a relapse. All our affairs, in my work, in my church, in my personal life, so that there's no double life for me to be ashamed of and have to hide. Thank you for joining us. Make sure to subscribe and share. And if you want to get into the deeper work, look at One Voice Evolving and at Trouble with 12 Step over on Substack. Mwah!